Hi everyone, my name is John and I'm making this video in an attempt to express my thoughts on the events of the past 2 weeks. Specifically, I'd like to address game developers, people in the industry, and other neutral parties. People like Paul Hubens, Daniel Vavra, and I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and others who took a chance in voicing a dissenting opinion and now face derision, ostracism, and hate from the very people they may have considered friends just days ago. Similarly, this message is for those who recognize that there is a problem and who may indeed want to speak up, but who have been bullied or intimidated into silence. Many of the videos that have been put out regarding this topic are somewhat incendiary and contain coarse language, which should come as no surprise. People are angry, and they're getting angrier every single day. However, for the purposes of this video, and in the interest of harmony, I'll attempt to keep a level head and speak calmly, clearly, and honestly. First off, I'd like to talk about what video games as a whole mean to me. First and foremost, video games are a hobby that I have had for as long as I can remember. I look back on my childhood, and some of my brightest memories are of me and my friends staying up late, trading Pokemon, or battling with spaceships in Homeworld. However, as much as I love them, my first memory involving video games is not an altogether happy one. I will spare you the more grisly details, as I really don't want this to turn into a diatribe of problems I had when I was growing up. But I do want to illustrate the deep personal connection that I have to games and gaming. It was Christmas, and I was 5 years old. I received an SNES console and Super Mario World. I should have shrieked with joy when I opened the box, and I really know that I wanted to. But it was a somber atmosphere that was kind of completely out of place on Christmas morning that really stopped me. This was the first Christmas that my father missed. For as long as I can remember, my father has battled an addiction to narcotics that has eaten away at my family. He'll disappear, sometimes for days, sometimes for months, only to later return and go on like nothing had happened. That Christmas, he didn't come back until well after New Year's. I needed something to focus on, something to keep my mind occupied, or else risk crippling sadness. The next few weeks were spent with my new SNES. I must have played through Super Mario World dozens of times. It offered me solace and respite in one of the most trying periods of my life, and for that I will forever be grateful to the men and women of Nintendo who worked on that game. But of course, it didn't stop there. Gaming became a part of who I was. It was my most cherished activity. It gave me some of my best friends in life, discovered through mutual interest. And it was a constant reminder that no matter what happened, I was never alone, and I never had to be. So you can imagine the pain that I have felt in light of recent events. In the past 2 weeks alone, I have been labeled a racist, a misogynist, a homophobe, a bully, a terrorist, and a loser by both the internet warriors of Tumblr and Twitter, and the supposed journalists that are meant to be reporting on the industry. And for what? Caring about video games and the video game industry enough to voice concerns that maybe, just maybe, there might be a problem when a large number of video game news outlets all publish more or less the same article stating that me, my friends, the people I love, and the people whom these sites are supposed to work for, in the same way that the New York Times works for the American public, are miserable, vile human beings with no right to an opinion. I'm sorry, but I cannot and I will not let that stand. I would like to illustrate the distinction between our two camps. The men and women of Gamergate, and yes, there are women that stand with us, are not shouting in protest of our so-called boys' club being taken over. We welcome women amongst our ranks as gamers and amongst those creators who work to build the games that we love. Women such as Carol Shaw, Roberta Williams, and Manami Matsume, who in the past stood unsubmissive and unbowed, and who climbed the mountain set before them, rather than attempt to drag the mountain down to their level. These women contributed infinitely more to the industry than people like Anita Sarkeesian, who has made a career of tearing down the creative works of others in an attempt to bolster her own professional value. It is these women, these creators, whom we respect and admire, not the critics who sit behind their computer screens and look down on their audience with utter contempt. And I urge you, if you have never heard of names such as Carol Shaw and Roberta Williams, and yet you hold people like Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn as the epitome of what women can do in this industry, to please Please educate yourself. To those of you who have used tactics such as name-calling, harassment, fear-mongering, threats of exile, or even physical harm, I ask you to take a step back. Take a breath and think. You have become that which you supposedly seek to end. You decry harassment, yet you harass. You decry exclusion, yet you exclude. And more broadly, you decry fascism, yet you have become fascists. You speak with a collective mind, each word not an independent thought, but an attempt to guess the thought of your neighbor. You intimidate your ranks into silence, and if dissent arises, you take immediate and measured steps to eliminate it. You fear opinion, and you stifle speech. If you allow yourself to be dragged into the dirt, kicking and screaming alongside those that would threaten to harm another human being over this issue, you bring ruin to yourself and yourself alone. I would like to say to those of you, especially devs, who have come out in support of Gamergate and are now facing personal and professional ramifications, remember that it is we who care enough to talk about this and protest these issues who buy games. It is we who go to midnight releases, who back Kickstarters, and who spend far more time than we likely should cherishing the fruits of your efforts. We are your audience, not screaming children or hushed sycophants. We are gamers, we are not dying, we are not going away, and we do vote with our wallets. And make no mistake, if you show your support, you will be recognized as doing so, and we will vote for you. As a final note, I would like to say thank you to Mundane Matt, Internet Aristocrat, Boogie2988, and others who have inspired me to make this video. I would also like to say to Jade Fox, I'm happy that you did not allow yourself to be made a victim by those who would wish harm upon you for the sole crime of parody. Gaming needs more women like you. Any of you mentioned, and indeed anyone who supports Gamergate, will always be welcome as my player too, regardless of race, gender, creed, or anything in between. I encourage you to spread this video along with any kind words which you yourself may have. I can be reached at TheKnownUnknown, with a 0 in unknown, on Twitter, which is a new account that I just set up to field these issues. And I'll close with a quote that most of you should be familiar with. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. I choose to be a gamer, and I choose to suffer at the hands of the corrupt and the hate-filled no longer. I choose to take up arms and rise against the troubles we have all seen coalesce, and by opposing, end them. Now who's with me?